back to the Realm of History. Tonight, we are live for Chapter 6 review. Tonight, we're going to go through the live agenda as usual, a couple of important ideas that I want to share with you. If you're joining us, hey, make sure you put some comment in there and let me know that you're here. Go ahead and like this video, which helps spread the word and spread the message. But this is what we're going to be doing. I'm going to take you through some key advice like I normally do. I am going to go through a limited amount of selected key terms and concepts, basically because I gave you the entire class today to work on the review sheet, and I answered a lot of questions in most of the hours. So I feel like we should be good to go there. I will be talking a little bit about the short answer on the content part, and then I'll be giving you some AP advice. We will, of course, do the question and answer time, and then a little bit of final advice before we end for the night. So those are some of the key things that I think it's important to take a look at as we go through the night. Here's start with some key advice, and I do have a couple of special notes to add. Number one, as usual, you want to make sure that you're writing things down from this session. I think that's how you really can retain the information and comprehend the information to the best of your ability. Number two, always pray for the right things. You know, there's so many things going on in the world. Make sure that you're praying for those that are in need. Make sure you're saying the prayer of gratitude. Thank the good Lord for all the blessings that have been bestowed upon you. I would not suggest praying for a good score on this quiz or victories in your certain sports, but rather I would suggest that you ask the good Lord to guide you to use your talents to the fullest in whatever element that may be. Number three, I think it's more important than ever to be here now. It's Spirit Week. There's a lot of crazy things going on. You know, you got all this different type of ways that you're dressing, and you're having these games throughout the day and eating hot dogs and stuff like that. So you just really got to focus in when you're in class and when you're preparing tonight. I really want you to focus in. You know, to me, I'm going to take a step back tomorrow from the Spirit Week stuff. I want to focus on that quiz. I want to make sure that that's my priority. Number one is this quiz tomorrow. Number four, I do want to remind you to say thank you to your parents. I think that's really important. If we do these once every week and a half, and if that's the only time that you really say, hey, thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you, Grandma and Grandpa. Thank you, whoever it is that takes care of you. I think that's important. So they're a big reason as to why you are here and why you've been so successful. So I think it's only proper to make sure that you share your gratitude with them. Number five, meet the challenge. Never back away from a challenge. And this quiz is going to be a challenge. We got a 2:00 dismissal all week. So, the school has put you under some pressure here as far as getting some work done. So you're really going to need to focus in and make sure that you make the best of your time and that you rise to the occasion. Here's what I don't want to have happen. Let me give you, listen, I'm going to take this down and say something really important. Look, do not skip quiz day. Far too many ballers or space ballers have been skipping the day of the quiz. And I know that many of you may be sick, but I got the feeling that some of you aren't. Don't shy away. The longer that you wait, the more it escapes your mind. Okay, the quiz scores are not better when you wait longer. You think you're getting extra time to study, but you're not. Show up for the quiz day. Be there. Be here now, and be a champion. Okay, don't shy away from that challenge. Another key, very important piece of advice. I noticed today there were a lot of questions on really, really basic ideas that were definitely covered in the notes. So I think my suggestion is you need to be studying throughout the entire chapter. Let's say we're on section 2. When we take the section 2 notes that night, you need to go home and you need to read those notes. You need to be periodically reading those notes each night to make sure that you stay abreast with the information. If you're waiting until tonight to study, or if you're waiting until the last 2 days to study for quizzes that are this large, covering 5 sections, it's probably not the best way to go about it. So you want to make sure that you are studying throughout the entire chapter and reading through those notes at least, each night, making sure that you understand what you wrote, making sure that you start to conceptualize and see that information coming to fruition there. I do have a special message for student council. Listen, hey, I understand it's Spirit Week, but if you think you're going to miss the quiz tomorrow to go set up for the volleyball game, that is not going to happen. You need to be in class. You do not skip a quiz because it's Spirit Week. I don't care. If I have to give you a 0, I'll argue with the administration. Listen, you guys need to be in class. Stop skipping stuff. Spirit Week will take care of itself. Rather, if you're a sophomore girl, you probably should be protesting or boycotting because they're putting the coach of the junior team in charge of scoring you on your outfits. Listen, let's boycott the hegemonious cheaters. Just stay in class, take your quiz. That's the most important thing. That's number one. Okay, Spirit Week is 5th, 6th, 7th on the list of things to think about. So you need to be there tomorrow, and you need to take that quiz. Okay, I think that is my rant about this and that. And now we are going to get into the key terms, the key places, figures. I've selected a few to go over. So first one is aqueducts. These were taught in section 5. These are bridge-like structures that brought water into Roman towns and cities. Next is the plebeians. The plebeians were the common citizen of Rome. They made up the majority of the population. They were your artisans, your farmers, your general merchants, so on and so forth. The patricians, on the other hand, were the wealthy citizens of Rome. They did hold the majority of the power. They were your large landowners and your store owners, your landowners, things of that nature. The Pax Romana was really important. 207 years of Roman peace. It lasted from 27 BC all the way to 180 AD. So during that time span, a lot of things happened. But yeah, there were some skirmishes and some battles, but no major war. So trade was able to go about. The spread of Christianity was able to happen. A lot of that is due to the Pax Romana. Next is the epistles of Paul. These are letters written by Paul to regions throughout the Mediterranean for the purpose of spreading Christianity. If you go to Mass and you hear a letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians or letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians, those are examples of the epistles. Next are the consuls. The consuls are the two chief executives of the Roman Republic. There were two of them. They were limited to 1-year terms because the Romans wanted to limit individual power. And they also had veto power over each other. So each one had to agree for something to actually be enacted. A lot of questions about this one today. The spread of Christianity. This was a welcoming message. There was a welcoming message of Jesus Christ. It was encompassing all. It allowed for the afterlife. The Pax Romana was in place, so it allowed the borders to be much more open for trade and cultural diffusion, which really this is an example of cultural diffusion, the spread of a religion. And then I just mentioned the epistles of Paul. Paul writes these letters to the faithful, trying to further expand the Christian faith. So all of those are some of the factors as to why Christianity spreads. And that could possibly be a short answer question tomorrow as well. Next are the Germanic peoples. The Germanic peoples were barbaric tribes that were from Germania. The Romans called Germania their northern borderland, and they eventually invaded Rome. Groups like the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Vandals, they all invaded Rome, caused a lot of damage. The Aeneid is next. You may see this spelled differently in certain translations, which is fine, but just know what it is. It's an epic poem. It's written by Virgil, and it basically is a continuation of Homer's epics. It's really a continuation of the Iliad, which was about the Trojan War. So you're going to want to know that that's really what it is. It's an epic poem. I'm not checking out the chat just yet, guys. I'll get there in a minute. We have the Punic Wars. The Punic Wars are really a series of wars between the city-state of Carthage, which is in North Africa, and Rome. And most often they were over control of trade routes. They were both major trading centers. A couple famous generals like Hannibal. Hannibal was a famous military general from Carthage. He used war elephants and he moved them across the Mediterranean Sea up through Spain and then up through the mountains and attacked Italy from the north with a lot of success. So you should probably read the notes. We didn't quite make it all the way through this lesson, but I gave you the handout notes on what's important to know there. Okay, very important. Next is the short answer part. I'm going to talk about the content short answer first. I'm going to give you, there's 5 of them. I'm going to give you some pointers on a few of them. Okay. First off, you really need to know what you think is the main factor that led to the fall of the Roman Empire. Now, there's a lot of possible answers here, but what you need to do is you need to pick that one that you think you can defend the best, and which one you think had the biggest impact. And then you're going to write most likely a short extended response on this, probably a paragraph. Next, I want you to be able to compare and contrast the Roman Republic to that of the United States. I'm not going to answer questions about this one. I'm not going to talk about it in depth. I'm going to refer you to a very important textbook page called 157, which is also on the list of charts and pages that I told you to study. So this chart does the answer for you. It compares and contrasts the Roman Republic to the one that we practice here in the United States today. You will have a short answer about the spread of Christianity. I kind of just went over this. You want to know why it spread, how it spread, when it spread. You will need to know certain elements that made up the Roman Republic, why it was a balanced form of government. Well, because it borrowed ideas from monarchy, aristocracy, and of course, democracy. And you mix and blend those and you get the Roman Republic. That's really what you're looking at there. Next, a few AP tips and suggestions. You know that you have 2 questions that are MCQ, and you have 1 question that's an SAQ, but the SAQ has 3 separate parts. It's going to have 3 separate questions that you'll have to use the ACE strategy: answer, cite, and explain. And you'll need to use at least 3 to 5 sentences. So we have to do all of this in 40 minutes. So you know that you're under the time pressure, and you need to be coming to class ready to take this quiz. Here's my best tip for the MCQ. You're going to need to be able to talk about Christianity. Well, you need to be able to know Christianity and how it was accepted in the Roman Empire. Some things to keep into consideration. I think what we learned about with the Jewish rebellion and then the Jewish diaspora, I think you got to take a look at how did the Romans react to that? And then how might that have affected their decision-making on Christianity? I think you also need to think about Roman government values. Like, did they allow you to just worship any faith, or did you still have to honor the Roman gods? Did you have to honor the Roman gods in public? Those are some things to keep in consideration there. On the SAQ, it's a little bit more involved, but really the biggest tip that I can give you there is you want to be able to compare Roman law, which I gave you the bulleted points to study on page 170, and also 175. But then also, I think you need to compare that system to the ones that we've previously studied, like the one that Draco put in place, or Hammurabi's code, right? So those are some of the things that I think are most important for you to take into consideration. Okay, that's basically what I had planned to talk about tonight. I know there's probably a lot of questions. I'm going to go to the comments. I see there are 147 of them. So give me just a quick minute. I see it's a lot of junior ladies in here trying to talk some trash, which is fine. They can talk some trash. Let's see. We got a lot of the ballers here showing up, which is good. Thank you for being here. Okay, just give me a second and I'll try to filter down to questions. If you have questions, please go ahead and type them in and I'll do my best to answer those. Sophie B, stop spamming my chat with Vivian Los Juniors. I don't know what that means anyway. I think it's Viva, but anyway. Yeah, please stop that. Hi, Luca. Hi, Ava B. I'm just looking for questions. Just looking for questions. Can we go over the map you want us to study? Okay, well, I can't pull it up. So this is okay. So I can't pull it up right now, but the map that I'm talking about is the map in section 4 that shows you the invasion routes of the Germanic tribes attacking Rome. Most of them come from the north, right? And then some of them come from the east. So you just want to know the thing about that map is that it gives you on 174, it gives you a lot of the names of those different invaders. And that's really what you want to know from that map. Let's see, Wally. Yeah. So Nero was an emperor and he was kind of crazy. And the thing about it is he persecuted Christians in a really harsh way. So a lot of crucifixes, a lot of martyrdoms, and he was not a big fan of Christianity. And so that was one of the big picture ideas of him as an emperor in comparison to kind of what we're learning about in this chapter. Roman, yeah, for the MC, you definitely will have a stimulus. So there's going to be a stimulus, and then the two questions will be related to your historical knowledge, and then, of course, also the prompt. Yeah, please stop. Not cool. Can you please talk about the Huns? Sure, the Huns were one of those Germanic tribes that did invade Rome. Now, they generally attacked from the north, the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths. There were others, though, that weren't generally from where Germania is concerned, like the Huns. The Huns were more from Central Asia. The Vandals came from Northern Africa. So those are some of the things that you need to know. But the Huns, very, very powerful because they put together a force of over 100,000 men under the leadership of Attila the Hun, and they did a lot of damage in both the western and the eastern portions of the empire. Sure. The Romance languages are just derivations of Latin. So they're called the Romance languages like Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, so on and so forth. So one of the things that you really want to take into consideration is that they are called the Romance languages because they are based on the language that the Romans spoke. Oh, I get it now. Okay, so you wanted me to say it correct, so you'd hear me say "Viva Los Juniors." Wow, that's actually pretty slick, Sophie. Okay, all right, nice move, nice move. I got to give credit where credit is due. But yeah, I'm here for the learning, not really for the Spirit Week. Sorry, I'm sure that you have better things to do. Like, don't you have classes to study for? I mean, really. But hey, thanks for joining it. It raises my numbers. I do appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Yeah. So Scipio. So I mentioned Hannibal, and I mentioned how Hannibal had one of the things that you want to take into consideration is when I said Hannibal attacked from the north with the elephants. This is true, and he had a lot of success in Italy. But then what Scipio does is he's like, oh well, if Hannibal's here, he's got his whole army in Italy. Let's go and attack Carthage. So Scipio takes a big group and goes and attacks Carthage, which then pretty much forces Hannibal to leave Italy to go battle him in his home city. And then eventually the Romans win that way. So Scipio made a really good move to counteract Hannibal's being in Italy. Can I say some important figures? Ask me which ones you want. Um, yeah, it's a tough one for me to respond to. Work for just my class? I don't know. I don't know why you're behind, but I get that you're tired. I think you should do the best that you can. All I can really say in this type of situation is, we're all humans. We all get to that point where we're at our limit. So listen, this is just one quiz, just one class. Um, I I don't want you to affect your mental health or your physical health. So if you need to get that sleep, you need to wake up tomorrow and study. Whatever you think is best for you is what you need to do. Listen, um, I would not suggest like staying up really late to catch up on work. I think that could be counterproductive for you. I would say your prayers. I would say a prayer and ask for guidance. I think that obviously the good Lord is a much grander power than anything that I could say. I'm just a normal guy, but hey, I do care about you, and I don't want you to stress yourself out too much. My biggest advice is just to pray over it and to do the best that you possibly can. That's it. Yeah, sure, Elena. The first triumvirate was made up of three. So triumvirates are groups of three rulers. The first triumvirate is Julius Caesar, another military general named Pompey, and then a wealthy politician named Crassus. Crassus kind of doesn't do much, but then Caesar and Pompey sort of go to battle against each other, and Caesar wins. That's like in a very summarized fashion, right? The second triumvirate also ends in civil war. You got Octavian Augustus, you've got Mark Antony, and then you've got your guy Lepidus. Lepidus is like Crassus in the first one. He gets knocked out early. Then you've got Mark Antony and Octavian Augustus going at it. And Mark Antony had the love affair with Cleopatra, who also had a love affair with Julius Caesar, remember? And so when that happens, there's a civil war. It's called the Battle of Actium. It's a naval battle. Cleopatra and Mark Antony's forces lose, and then they commit dual suicide. And then Octavian takes the reins as the sole dictator. It's really referring to the mixture of monarchy, aristocracy, and democracy to form that Roman Republic. That's really what it's looking at. Other elements you could include are consuls and senate, right? Plebeians and patricians. That's really what I'm looking at as far as for the Roman Republic and its foundation. Well, sir, Cleopatra's overall importance is that in the second triumvirate, it's not so much about the love affairs, it's more so that she provided naval troops and ships to help Mark Antony try to defeat Octavian. And so she aided in the civil war to try and overthrow the Roman leader at the time. Octavian was the adopted son of Julius Caesar. And in essence, what Octavian did was he defeats Mark Antony. And then that led to, of course, him becoming what's known as the sole ruler of the empire. So that's really kind of what you can think about it is he becomes the sole ruler of the empire and gains a lot more power by defeating Mark Antony and Cleopatra. So I went over these two earlier. I hope that did you heard that? Also did both of these. Yeah, so like Nero's on that chart, right, Chloe? So you want to know these emperors, and then if you get a question about them, right, you should know some of the factors that it was talked about in that chart. Yeah, but that would be all that you would really need to know. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, if a young man is being honest, I mean, hey, look, we all make mistakes. Like I make 1,000 mistakes every single day. Trust me. Like you don't even know some of the mistakes. Like some of your thoughts are mistakes, right? You know that your thoughts can be sins, right? So unless you can control all your thoughts by practicing metacognition, which is something that I try to practice, but it's very difficult, then I think that actually admitting to your mistakes is a sign of strength. And so I would say Master Gavin is a key baller and sign of strength. That's just my take. Yeah, something like that. Love it. Oh, I did not do the leafing. No, no, the Leaf Gang did the leafing. So the Leaf Gang, they kind of go wherever they want. I do not control the Leaf Gang. The Leaf Gang has tried to enact their forms of terrorism against me for a very long time. So no, Sir Gisha is a great friend of mine. So I did not leaf his car. I thought it was funny. It was really funny, but no, I did not do the leafing. No, sir. Ask me which ones you want, Giada. If I haven't gone over them, then I will certainly do so. Did I win? Yeah, I did win the chili cook-off, my first one ever. Yeah, I entered into a chili cook-off, and yes, I did win. I'm not going to tell you who I beat because I have too much respect for them, but yes, I did win in my first chili cook-off ever. So I was very fortunate. I was just hoping to get one, maybe two votes, but yeah, I did end up winning. Ashley, I already went over this a few answers ago. Um, Once again, the first triumvirate is Julius Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey. The second triumvirate is Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus. Uh, I sure wish you could, Brooklyn. I mean, I really would. I don't care if you do track or not. I just would like you to come back to St. Mary's. I think it's a great place, and I believe in it. But we really miss you. I mean, I certainly do. Um, I think the rules would say. I think the rules would say that you. I think the rules would say that you can't because you transferred, and if you come in, you probably have to sit one semester. But we could check. We could check with the athletic department. We'd have to check. I would be more than willing to check for you. I just wish you would come back. I know your friends really miss you, and you're a great kid. So keep that in mind. Michael Maddie. If that's the real name, it's not ringing a bell. Maybe you go by a different name. Let me know. Roman breakdown in the military. Sure, Miriam, that's a good question. Basically, what ends up happening is there's a lack of loyalty to the empire. And see, what happens is the generals, they start to recruit the urban poor, which there were a lot of urban poor. And so they start to recruit them, and then they get paid by the generals themselves. So they think, hey, the person in charge is the general. Whatever the general says I'm going to do, I'm going to do, right? So if the general says, hey, I'm going to take my 5 legions, which would be 25,000 troops, and I'm going to actually attack the Roman Empire's army, which I'm a part of, but I can still go and attack other generals and legions, then that's what those people are going to do. Because see, they're getting all of their pay, all of their food, their families are being supported by these individual commanders, which leads to a breakdown in the Roman military. Then the Roman Empire has to go out and find mercenaries, which don't have a whole lot of loyalty to the empire anyway. And so that's really what led to that breakdown. Wow, the Sea People. Well, we don't exactly know who the Sea Peoples were. The Sea Peoples did a lot of damage in attacking Egypt. They attacked what we believe the Mycenaeans. Most likely attacked and raided other groups throughout the Mediterranean region. We know that they caused immense damage. They came in, they committed a lot of atrocities. They took a lot of treasure, and then they got back on their ships and left. And nobody really knows where exactly they came from. But they were, by all accounts, one of the most ferocious and powerful groups in the Mediterranean region. Could they be the people from the lost city of Atlantis? That's a possibility that's been thrown out there. Well, Julius Caesar's overall importance is really some of the reforms that he makes. In the notes that I handed out, I talked about a lot of the reforms, giving jobs to the poor, giving the poor land, giving better pay in the military. All of these different reforms that he makes were really the overall ideology of him. He's also one of the greatest military generals in the history of the world and was appointed dictator for life. So that's really what you want to focus on with him. Yeah, there's page 174. It has a big chart about all the different factors that are possibles for you to argue for in that type of a question. I'm sorry. I know that this is about math. I don't teach math. I was never really strong in math myself. I struggled with math, so I feel you. I feel for you. Have you talked maybe about getting a tutor? I know at the school that I work out at where they have NHS members that also tutor. So I think that might be an option for you. You might want to check into that. Gia, yeah. So the Jewish diaspora is basically the forced dispersal of the Jewish population from Jerusalem. It's essentially where the Romans, after defeating a Jewish rebellion, decide that they're going to kick the Jewish population out of the homeland region. And that's what the Jewish diaspora is. Yeah, I mean, from what I saw, it was a great shot. I mean, he was fairly well defended and kind of falling back. So, yeah, I thought he was pretty good. Sure, Mark Antony was a Roman military general, and he gets involved in a civil war with Octavian Augustus and loses. But prior to that, I mean, he had a lot of success in conquering lands in Anatolia and Turkey, and then he joins with Cleopatra to kind of create that alliance with her. Sure. The Punic Wars are wars between Carthage and Rome over trade routes, and Rome wins eventually. But the Carthaginians had a really good general named Hannibal, who did cause the Romans some losses in battles, and he almost got to Rome in his invasion. I mean, I can say one main factor. Um, I'm not going to say it's the most important one, but yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I could say inflation. I could say breakdown in the military. I could say lead pipes with the aqueducts. A lot of people think that those lead pipes poison the water, and so on and so forth. So yeah, those are some of the things that you got to take into consideration. Michael Maddie, I don't know. I mean, I could be spaceballing too. Kerma, can you explain a tribune? Yeah, tribunes were special positions in government that were basically put on the spot to protect the voting rights of the plebeians. See, the patricians, they always wanted to get rid of the voting rights of the plebeians. And so the tribunes were put into place. They were elected by the plebeians to protect their voting rights. They're kind of like lawyers that represent the plebeians. Virgil was an author, and he argued and he wrote what's called the Aeneid. And in his writings, he continued the ideas of Homer's epic poem, the Iliad. Can you explain the foundation of the Roman Republic? Well, essentially, the Roman Republic is founded on three blends: a blend of monarchy, aristocracy, and then also democracy. So if you take some of the elements of those three, mix them together, you kind of essentially have the Roman Republic. Hey, look, Brooklyn would like to have a date to the St. Mary's homecoming. So if any young men are out there that don't have a date, Brooklyn's out there, and yeah, if somebody would do that, I would definitely give you extra credit. Yeah, for sure. The Leaf Gang never left. Yeah, the Leaf Gang has been around for a long time, and they're still balling about. Yeah. Yeah, you should, Anthony. I mean, you're going to have to pick one, and you're going to have to kind of make it your main argument. But yeah, you could come up against you could come up against some others. Yes. Tacitus is a Roman historian. He was most well known for presenting the facts accurately and honestly. And the importance of that is that he's one of the only historians to mention Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's really all they come in. The Punic Wars are really all that Carthage comes into play in this chapter. Yes. Okay, yeah. Diocletian was the emperor who split the empire into two halves. He splits the empire into two halves because he thought it would be easier to govern with two co-rulers. So he thought a smaller area to keep control of would be more efficient. I don't make the body pillow. You have to talk to Dan Ozog. He's the guy who made it. There's been a high number of requests for the body pillow, so he might be able to make some money. Somebody should talk to Master Ozog. He might be willing to make them and then make some money off of them. But yeah, I don't have anything to do with the body pillows. I just have one. What you got to do is you got to study the chart. You got to study the chart on page 157. Very important. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Hopefully, you didn't hack into my account. Yeah, the Germanic peoples are barbaric tribes on the their Germanic tribes are barbaric peoples on the borders of the Roman Empire, especially to the north. And they're groups like the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, the Huns could be thrown in there. And they eventually attack Rome, eventually taking over Rome in the end in 476. What caused inflation in Rome? It's a good question. Basically, what causes inflation is when you have an influx of the currency coming into the empire. So Rome starts to get really large, and when they conquer areas, what happens is they take the treasure, which is usually in the form of gold and silver, and they bring it back to Rome. So when you do that, the currency becomes less rare, right? And anytime something's less rare, it decreases in value. And so that's what caused inflation in Rome. It was due to military conquest, bringing back a lot of treasure and loot. Sure, Miriam. Legions are basically the large divisions of the Roman military. It was made up of 5,000 heavily armed foot soldiers or infantrymen. Virgil was a poet. He extended the writings of your guy, Homer. Did you change your profile pic that fast, Grant? You had Michigan and now you have the Tigers. That's kind of nifty. I respect that. Yeah, Audrey. Attila was the biggest chief of the Huns, and he put together an army of over 100,000 and terrorized both the eastern and western halves of the Roman Empire. Well, we've had quite a few comments today, quite a few questions. We're at 42 minutes, and I'm going to stay on for just a few more minutes and answer any final questions. My big time advice is to read through your notes, watch the video lessons if you haven't done that. I didn't put a section 3 back up there because I felt like that one I want you guys to be responsible for. So that one is not going to be there. But, those are some of the things that you might really want to focus on. Well, Clara, Constantine was the first emperor of Rome to allow Christianity as one of the accepted practiced faiths. And then I think the other idea is that Constantine changes the capital city from Rome to Byzantium. And then he changed it to Constantinople. Well, actually, there's so much to go over on the key places like Carthage, for example. It's a key city-state. It was a trading city in the northern portions of Africa, for example. But I mean, there's so much, like with Rome, like you just need to know everything about Rome. That's why I don't put it as part of the assignment. Pompeii, obviously, that's where Mount Vesuvius erupted, right? And it's that city that we learned about in section 5. The Mediterranean Sea, the importance of that is all of the different trade routes. And that's pretty much it. Kaylee, I don't. A while ago, I mean, we've only had girls for 2 years. I've only been teaching girls. This is my second year, so I don't know how that would have worked. I think you're trying to trick me. Yeah, I hope that Lourdes' dog is okay. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, if you want to pray for Lourdes' dog, that would be nice. I would say the religious impact, Sarah, for this chapter, I think that was kind of the bigger frame for him in what we studied for this chapter. That should be reflected on the quiz. Augustus is also Octavian, and I went over him a little bit ago. He was in the second triumvirate. He fought the major civil war against Mark Antony. No, tell me who you are. Give me some more information. I didn't have you in class, I'm pretty sure. All right, Luca, have a great night. Master Kaylee is in our Kaylee? I don't know. I don't have her in class. You guys are trying to trick me. Okay, it's getting a little goofy on here. So I am going to go ahead and say maybe just one more minute, and then I'm probably going to close it off. Clara, Diocletian is the emperor that divided the empire into 2 halves, the Latin-speaking West and the Greek-speaking East. Okay, I'm going to make that the final answer. Hey, I just want to say thank you for all of you for joining. And there were a lot of good questions. I do appreciate that. There was some goofiness that I had to filter through. The juniors came on and tried to mess with us, which we didn't get fazed by that. They must not have anything better to do. But nonetheless, I think that tomorrow is going to be a challenge, trying to be here now, making sure that you're ready. don't shy away from that challenge. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless you. Make sure you say thank you to your parents and say the prayer of gratitude before you go to bed. God bless everyone. And yeah, I love all of my students, and I wish you guys the best.